Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Dragon's Demise at Origins 2019. We're here with Cassie Friedman from Letiman Games. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
They're going to be, they're in the process right now, actually, of publishing a game called Matryoshka. And we're going to be talking to her about that, as well as some of her other work in the gaming industry. So,
sounds great.
Would you care to do the first brick?
All right. I like to go to the side. Oh no, is this a bad idea?
You got it.
Okay, a green one.
All right.
All right.
Starting with the wild questions.
Do you want to do it? You have your
got-
favorites.
I do, but I got all the wilds yesterday, so I feel
You're
like
going to give it to me?
I am.
Okay. Well, I don't want to go. I want to go for the super silly one. So at first, I'll say if you were stuck on a desert island and you could only have one board game that you didn't design or work on, what would it be?
It's a good one.
Probably a classic like Carcassonne, because Carcassonne I can play over and over and over, and it's never, you know, it's like it's wild what tiles you draw, so you can. I mean, it's like infinite replayability for me. So if I'm stuck on an island, I'm playing Carcassonne.
That's an important factor. Yeah, if you're stuck on an island, presumably alone. Yeah. All right.
All right.
You want to pull it?
This is fun, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we really enjoy it.
Oh, it is, but like it's also stressful. We also don't play by the one-hand rule because it's an interview. All right, should I put it up here?
Oh yeah, I forgot. I got to put my pocket.
Yeah, I forget all the time.
We got to increase the dramatic tension.
All right. Okay. So, as I understand it, with Matryoshka, you were not on the game design side, but the production side. And everyone we interview is kind of on the game design side. So we'd like to hear a little bit about what the production side and the project management and how to, you know, make sure these creative endeavors actually happen.
Yeah. So we wanted to get a game from another foreign country, and I found Matryoshka. There's it depends on how you pronounce it from where you are, but I found the game and I've loved it for years. And so I was working with Dan on hopefully we could do a project together. Dan from Letiman Games, he's the CEO owner of it, and I approached him about Matryoshka because I've known about it for so long, and I was like, can we please bring this project on board? And so we played it, and he enjoyed the game too, and so we reached out to the original publisher in the Netherlands and made a deal with them about, so there's a contract that we signed to produce a certain amount of quantities of the game, and they get a little bit of cut based off of how many we manufacture. And my position has been like the head of the project, so I got all the quotes, and I contacted the original publisher, White Goblin Games, to see if, you know, if it was available for localization. Worked with the graphic designer to get everything, and they gave us all of the art files and all of the work. So, like you said, we didn't have to work with the designer. We only brought the project on. So we actually have not interacted with the designer at all.
Oh, wow.
He's in Brazil.
Okay.
He's the same designer as Sheriff of Nottingham, actually.
Oh, interesting.
And
this is a very multicultural game.
Yeah. So he, you know, designed a game. Someone else published it, and I don't know what their, you know, agreement is with the designer with localizations. If maybe they get like X percentage because it's a localization and not like a direct sale. I'm not sure how that works, but that's basically been how it's gone so far. Is I've just been doing a lot of interactions with a lot of different hats in the industry, trying to get all of the answers, you know, together so we can bring the game out.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's my turn, right?
It's your turn.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, yes. No, please don't fall.
There you go.
Okay, I picked a blue one.
Okay. So Matryoshka, as I understand it, is a set collection game. You're you're like antiques collectors trying to reassemble valuable sets of Matryoshka dolls. And can you talk to us a little bit about how the game is actually played?
Yeah, the game is it's a card game, and the way you win is by having the most points. The way you earn points is by getting dolls of either the same doll kind in a row. So like the dolls have 7 sizes to them, and then in the game there's 10 different dolls. If you get like the size 1, 2, and 3, you get points. If you get all of the size 2s of different dolls, you get points. And so what you're doing is you have a display of the dolls you're collecting, but you also have dolls in your hand that are your kind of like your currency that you're using to trade with other people. So each player offers up a card from their hand for trade. All the other players must trade or must offer a trade, but it's face down. So nobody knows what's being traded. You can do a little bit of like card counting if you're like, oh, you traded with that person, so I know that person has the card in their hand, because the offer is face up, but the accepted card is face down.
Right.
Interesting.
So it's a little bit of who's got what. And then at the end of the round, you pick up your display of cards and you can rearrange your strategy in your display, because the next round you put out whatever you want and it increases. So the first the first display is 2 cards, and then 4 cards, and then 8, and then 13.
Okay.
And so it's a grid of cards that you're playing out, kind of like if you've seen Arboretum, where they play cards out into like 1, 2, 3 grids and of the same trees. It's like that, like 1, 2, 3 of the same dolls.
Okay. Interesting.
And so the core mechanic is trading.
Right.
Trading and set collecting.
Yeah. Working with other collectors to try to advance your own agenda.
Yeah. And then you want to make, an offer to whoever. If someone is like, I have a card that I'm trading that will be really helpful for you, you don't want to give them something super valuable, because then they'll beat you, but you want to give them something valuable enough that they'll trade with you.
Right.
So it's like a
delicate balance.
Yeah.
My block brick. I keep doing that. All right. Nope. Nope.
Oh, I asked my one red question.
Oh no. Have I put you on the spot?
Yes.
Okay. I'll take this one. I'll jump on this grenade. So, we mentioned that you sort of work on the production side of things as well, and bring in the localization, in this particular case from a Brazilian designer, but I know you are very multicultural and multi-talented yourself and learning many, many languages. Is that something that you've done specifically for like professional development, or is this just kind of a happy coincidence of you know these languages and you can bring these games on board?
It's more like, I love language. I learned Spanish when I was in high school, and I also learned sign language. And then in college, I learned Hebrew, and now I'm trying to learn Dutch. And so
Dutch
I just
is so pretty.
I just love
really
languages, and so it really was kind of like, the perfect marriage to localized games, especially because I have a love for language. And so, it's really cool to have someone send you an email and you're able to say dankjewel, and that means thank you, and they're like, oh, you said thank you in my language. That's pretty cool.
Right.
And so it's just a really neat thing that I like I said, it's like a good marriage to have that passion and then be able to apply it to my other hobby of board games.
Yeah. And I imagine it helps build so many relationships and open so many doors.
It's been really cool. And I was speaking with someone the other day who's a Mexican publisher, and he was talking about how it's really difficult to get games down into Mexico. And so we were able to talk. My Spanish isn't the best, but I was able to talk to him in Spanish, and then he knew what I was saying, and I could read what he was saying. And it was just a really cool experience. And it makes me feel good when I can do stuff like that.
No, I have a bachelor's degree in Russian. I'm mostly fluent in Russian, though out of practice. And I speak a little German. I really wanted to learn Hungarian, but it's gibberish and it's very hard. So, and there's like nobody to practice with. So.
Way to alienate our Hungarian viewers.
Oh. I mean, I'm real sorry. But most Hungarians speak enough English because they know their language is so challenging. So, because it's like a mishmash of like Finnish and Korean, and I can geek out about that for a long time, so I won't go.
That's another language I'm trying to learn is Korean. So
a little bit of everywhere.
A little bit, yeah. My ultimate goal, one of my like bucket list goals, is to be a polyglot, to know and I want to know at least 7 languages fluently. So it's going to take me
it's a good goal.
My whole life probably, but I hope to die in saying goodbye in multiple languages.
All right.
Oh, so your poll.
Oh no,
that's fine.
We won't count that. That's just one.
Tower's still standing.
Right.
Here, I'm gonna do this. I'll just.
All right.
It was a green one.
It's just a mishap.
Yeah, it's totally fine. My go.
Your
go. I think we may have started answering this question already, but my favorite question to ask is, what are your hobbies outside of board games?
Oh boy. So, learning languages for one, but I am like really big in stationery stuff. Nice. Currently on me, I have like, if you were to open my purse right now, I have probably 4 notebooks, a book full of stickers, 10 pens and 7 highlighters, a book full of like all of my washi tape samples. So I'm like really into stationery stuff for some reason.
No, I mean, do what you love.
Yeah, whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, and let's see, board games, stationery, and I'm really getting into like Star Trek. So I don't know if Star Trek counts as like its own hobby.
I mean, it
but
can.
Like,
it absolutely
yeah, totally.
I've finally watched all of Deep Space Nine. I know it's so good. And I finally watched all of Voyager, and I haven't gotten any of like the newest Star Treks because I'm like, I don't know.
Watched Discovery yet, but
yeah.
I was Tasha Yar for Halloween when I was 8.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's awesome. I really want to get like the science suit, like the jumpsuit science one, and just be a member of the crew one year for Halloween.
Yeah, that's the dream.
My mom went to the 25th anniversary convention. For Star Trek. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She was part of the original letter writing campaign to keep it on the air.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Through line.
Yeah. All right. It's my turn, and your question.
This is really a trust exercise. This is what it comes down to right here.
Oh, that's a
smooth. Okay.
No, that's going in the middle.
So we've been talking mostly about your work on this game that you've been involved in producing, Matryoshka, but you also design games. You have a game that you've designed, Wizard Shelf, that's going to be having a Kickstarter later this year. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that game, I designed it because there was a contest called the Gen Can't contest.
Yep, I'm familiar.
And the contest was to make a game with just 18 cards. And I've wanted to make a game about, I really like magical themed things and, wizardly stuff. So I wanted to come up with a game that was about that. And the designer, Stephen Aramini, he designed Circle the Wagons and Sprawlopolis, which are both 18 card games that are really good. And I find his product or his games to be just so great. So I used his games as inspiration for mine. And most of his games have quadrants on them. The cards have quadrants. And so I was like, what can I do that's magical that uses quadrants? And so what I did was I made a game where you're collecting sets of magical items on a shelf.
Okay.
And it's a shelf that has 4 things. So those are the 4 quadrants. And you're trying to collect things of the same type. Like you want all of the wands on the shelf near each other, but you don't want the same color of things near each other on the shelf, because those are negative points.
Okay.
And having the things that are the same kind are positive points. And the cards are double-sided. So one side is the shelf, the other side is a spell. And if you choose to take a card for a spell instead of as a shelf to add to your tableau of stuff on your shelf, you get a special ability. And you also have a way to earn bonus points at the end of the game if you are able to get, it has like 3 items listed on the card. So if you're able to get those 3 items adjacent to each other, then you succeeded, you get those bonus points at the end of the game.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a cute little set collector that's wizardly themed.
Right. Yeah. It checks all those boxes.
It does. And I had a lot of fun designing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Do you have an estimate on when we should look for that on Kickstarter?
My publisher said the fall. It's coming out from Concrete Canoe Games.
Okay.
They're a publisher that they just make hook box games. And it's cool. It's a little box that it folds out and it has the cards sitting in it. And the rules are on the inside of the box.
I've seen one of these just the other day.
It's so cool. And so this is all he does. It's hook box games. And so,
nice.
Yeah, my game didn't win the contest, but you have to submit a video when you enter the contest. And so he watched the video and he said, hey, did you sign this game yet? Because if not, I'll sign it to my line. And I was like, yes, please. So,
yeah. Let me think about it. Yes.
Yep, exactly. So that was how I got into designing. And I'm actually working on another game right now that I can't talk too much about who it's for and what it's for.
Yep.
But it's ocean themed. And it's going to have sharks and fish and scientists on boats, and
I like the sound of that.
Yeah. Science is having a comeback right now.
Yeah. Well, I love educational games, and there's other games that I've wanted to design. Like I've wanted to design a game about weather patterns because I think that would be really cool to learn about.
Yeah.
I've also wanted to design something about electricity. My father's an electrical contractor, and I really want to make a game that's like about his job and his life because he's been doing this since he was like 18, you know? And so I thought that would be something really cool to design, but I haven't gotten anywhere with that.
Yeah, my dad
just thoughts.
An accountant, and that would be not a fun game.
This game is how to balance your budget.
Could be educational.
Edutainment, yeah. That's what we're working with.
Jacob's making sad faces behind the camera because Jacob is also an accountant.
Aww. All right. Let's see. That one seems safe.
See, it has happened to me often that the only tiles that will come out are red. Yeah.
Didn't we? I feel like there was a time we did a purple.
I did.
Yeah.
I made up purple, and I was like, I'm just gonna make up a new one because I'm tired of red tiles. Oh gosh.
Are you about to do that?
No.
Okay.
So
I forget what the colors mean.
The red is questions about the board game industry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I typically run out of those because those are, for whatever reason, least interesting to me. But I am curious about, how was the work to go and make these contacts internationally? Do you think it was a bigger challenge internationally than it would have been in the US? And how did you handle those challenges?
Yeah, so when we first wanted to, localizing a game was our first idea. I brought Matryoshka to Letiman Games and said, this is a game that I really like. And they said, originally it was, let's keep looking at games before we pick the one we really want to invest in. And so we reached out to a couple of other publishers that are from other countries. But I think it was South Korea that we reached out to. And, there is a little bit of difficulty with language barrier, sure. And also with, not necessarily with the localization part, but with the publishing part and having to get things manufactured because you're working with Chinese manufacturers. So you have to be very specific with your terminology. And, I try to outline things as easily as possible. I don't want there to be any confusion or concern that maybe there's a discrepancy in communication. Yeah. And so that's probably been the biggest difficulty is there's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
When you're working with someone in the United States, they would know exactly what you're talking about because they're used to the way you're explaining it. But now you have to know we want it to, and also no more inches, you got to use meters and centimeters and millimeters. And so I'm like converting things that I'm used to. Okay, so like a bridge card is 2.25 inches. So now I have to convert that for my manufacturer. And then, it's just like a lot of stuff that you wouldn't have to do if you're working with someone in the United States.
Right.
But it wasn't an issue. It's just, there's more communication that has to happen.
Right.
Extra
brain.
steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
All right, it's me.
It's you.
It's me.
And your question.
And look at that. I don't have to trust in anybody else this time. Let's go. Oh, yeah.
Ooh, nice.
That'll work very nicely.
I was like hold my breath a little bit.
Yeah. So actually, I have a follow-up question about Wizard Shelf. So
okay.
18 cards is not a lot of cards. And you've described, you've got quadrants, you've got the entire back of the cards that has the spells. What's it like designing a game that has so many like multi-use components, like just trying to squeeze every ounce of utility onto that card? Like, is it a challenge or is it fun? Like,
I find it a fun challenge.
Okay, all right. So both. Yes to both.
So, for example, I was trying to figure out, okay, so if you get a spell and then you use it, you tap it. But then if you get the points, you maybe flip it upside down or, trying to figure out things like how to do that. So that's one of the things is how do I get everything that I want everybody to have onto this card? And it is a challenge. And what I like to do is look at other games that are, other 18 card games for influence because, some people come up with ideas I wouldn't have. Like I've seen, there's a game called Head in the Clouds by Daniel Newman. And that has a card that each side of it is a number. And that's how you keep track of your currency. So you just rotate it and rotate it. And then you can flip it. And there's even higher currency, and then you rotate it so that way you can see how much money you have.
Okay.
And I was like, that's a really cool way to keep track of something when you have such few amount of cards.
Right.
And you don't want to incorporate coins or, So I just like to look at what other people have done for guidance. But it is a fun challenge because I like to do it myself first. And I'm like, man, I'm really struggling. Let me see what other people have done.
Yeah.
Take some inspiration.
Yeah. That's kind of what the whole industry is we all kind of inspire each other.
Right. Yeah.
And then we add a little bit of our own personal creativity and then make something new.
Yeah, we've heard that from so many people is, they got the idea for a game while playing another game. Or they were talking to a designer who made an offhand comment and they just fixated on it. And that sort of almost cross-pollination of creativity is
It is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is. I really enjoy it. And I like being able to, I think what's great too is designers want to help each other.
Right.
I've never heard a designer say, you ripped my game. I've only ever heard someone say, how can I help you with your game?
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic to hear.
Yeah, and I just love this community. I was talking to someone earlier about how designers and publishers, we see each other as comrades. No one sees each other as a competitor, even though we are.
Yeah.
But we just want everybody to succeed in the industry. And I just think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of that comes from, most of the people who do this type of work come at it from the hobby side first.
Yeah.
And that's how they get into it. And so just growing the entire hobby together is a really fun experience.
It's there's a lot of passion from everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
Where are you going?
I want a green question. I don't know. Where are you going to fall?
Here you go.
You got it.
Nice. Nicely done. Bink.
All right. Green question.
All right.
Green question? I didn't get to ask my question yesterday.
I know.
I would love to ask my question. Oh, you can ask my question.
So many questions.
No, there's one. You can ask your question.
Okay. What's your favorite type of donut?
My favorite type of donut? Sugared.
Sugar donut.
So not the glaze, but I like it when they take it and throw it in granulated sugar.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Is that weird?
No.
We've had all sorts of answers to this question. Nothing is weird.
Yeah.
And it's so good with hot chocolate because it's nice and squishy. It's not too sweet, so you get a nice cup of hot chocolate and this little sugared donut.
There you go.
Oh,
Next level.
I know.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
It's the perfect Christmas donut.
It's me.
It is you, yes. And you're pulling for yourself. See, there we go. This is what happened. We've just...
It's fine. It's all fine.
Don't breathe too hard on the towers.
All right. So, we've talked about Matryoshka and we talked about Wizard Shelf, and you mentioned some different rules things and some that you're really into the magic theme. And I'm wondering, when you approach game design, is it more theme or more mechanics that's exciting, and why?
Definitely theme. Because I like to take a theme and figure out how do I make someone feel what this is, and what mechanics are going to make someone feel this way. Like I mentioned earlier, I want to make a game about weather patterns. So how do I make someone, what kind of mechanics will make someone understand weather patterns? Maybe tile placement because they're placing clouds, and then maybe worker placement because maybe they are the clouds, and so they're going around and they have to water things, but then the wind comes and pushes them, or so I try to think of it that way. And I really like to start with the theme and see how can I make someone feel this theme when they're playing the game.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm sure you like that answer.
I did.
She's a theme primacy person.
Yeah, if the theme...
I am too.
If the mechanics lose the theme for me, I am typically not interested in playing the game anymore.
Do you like deck builders?
Sometimes.
Because deck builders feel very generic sometimes. Get a card, you built an engine. Get a card, kind of building your engine a little bit.
Yeah, the very first deck builder I played was the DC Comics deck builder.
Okay.
And nobody had explained to me that the deck building was the game. So I thought, it's like, okay, every turn we pick a card, and then at the end we'll have a deck, and then we'll play a game with the decks we've built. No, that's not what it was just like very process-like. Okay, now I have picked up a card, and now I have beat the bad guy, and now that bad guy is somehow on my team, and like it was a complete miss for
Didn't
me.
connect.
But like, I like Thunderstone Advance as a deck builder. I do like the Harry Potter deck building game.
Yes.
Because I think that one really works as a deck builder with the
You're acquiring spells because
Yeah.
you're like learning more.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Me.
you. Okay.
So it's your
it's back
turn.
to you.
I'm
Hard to
nervous
keep
now.
track sometimes.
Yeah.
Just poke things, see who moves. Oh, you
There you go.
move.
I do think there's a disproportionate number of red tiles.
So in defense of the tower, there is an exactly equal number of red and blue tiles.
I know. But I always feel that way.
Yeah, it's true. That's fair.
Because these are all on the bottom.
That's true. We did sort of mess that up. But so I do feel a little bit like we've done things out of order. We've been asking you all these questions about your experiences in the gaming industry, but we haven't asked you how you got into it. How did you get your start?
Sure. So all right, start from the very beginning.
Okay.
We were talking about Star Trek earlier.
Yep.
So I was watching Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yep.
And the actor Will Wheaton is on the show.
Yep.
And he was a kid, so I was thinking, well, he's definitely not a kid anymore. What has he been up to? So I found out he had a show called Tabletop.
Right.
Watched Tabletop and learned about International Tabletop Day. Went to my local game store and made friends, played games that I just watched shows about that looked super fun, and now I get to actually play these in person, and I was hooked. So I started acquiring my own copies of games, and I really like indie stuff, like indie music, indie shows, indie everything. And so I would find games on the shelf that just didn't look like they were super popular, or maybe people hadn't really heard of them. Maybe they were like under the radar. But I'm a visual person. And so I would go to YouTube to try to find videos about them, but they're so indie, there was like nothing.
Yeah.
Or there was the designer trying really hard to explain his game, but they're not a video person. So it just didn't come across as educational.
Sure.
So I started making my own videos. Then I started reviewing stuff. Then I was contacted by another person who reviews, but not by video. They do it written. And like when you do content by yourself, you feel a burnout sometimes.
Totally.
So we joined forces so we wouldn't feel a burnout. And that's when we made our blog called the Indie Game Report. And so I started doing that. And then I met Dan from Letiman Games. And I was getting to know publishers and designers. And so I was like, I really want to try more hats. I really want to, I've learned about how reviewing goes and stuff. And, I want to be able to design. So then I designed. And I was like, well, I want to know what it's like publishing. So then I joined forces with him to work on Matryoshka. And so it's just been like, a little progression of, let me try this hat on now.
Yeah.
Let me try this hat on now.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out exactly, if there's something I really want to bring in a whole focus of. But right now I just like scattering myself about.
Nice.
Nothing wrong with little diversity.
Yeah. So Star Trek. Started with Star Trek.
It really did.
That's awesome.
Yet another thing to thank Star Trek for.
For real.
I think that is all the time for questions we have. We're
It's
getting
true.
the stare from Jacob. Do you want to do the honors of pushing over the tower?
Can I pull a block and let it fall?
Absolutely.
You can do whatever you want. Epic.
That was very satisfying.
And that's why we love it. Cassie Friedman, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. That was actually a lot of fun. I've never
Awesome.
done an interview like this before, and that was super fun.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And we hope you enjoy the rest of your Origins.
Thank you. You too.
We'll see you later.
Bye.